The massive starship's communication deck vibrated with an unusual energy. Hana Kim stood perfectly still, her alien physiology creating a stark contrast against the metallic background. Her iridescent skin, which changed colors based on her emotional state, was currently a pale blue, indicating deep concentration and determination. David Park, a human communications specialist, looked up from his holographic screen. He was used to strange encounters, but this was different. The alien female before him seemed to have a very specific purpose. "I choose you as my life partner," Hana stated, her voice remarkably calm and direct. David blinked. He wasn't sure he had heard correctly. Around them, other human and alien personnel continued their work, seemingly unaware of the extraordinary moment unfolding. Hana extended a small, crystalline object, what appeared to be a formal marriage proposal in her culture. The crystal was intricate, with geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change when light touched its surface. It represented more than just a personal request. It was a diplomatic gesture. "Excuse me?" David said, his hand instinctively reaching for the crystal but hesitating. In her culture, marriage was not a romantic concept but a strategic alliance. Compatibility was measured through precise calculations, genetic matching, professional potential, and societal contribution. Emotions played a minimal role in their partnership selections. Hana's species had been observing humans for decades. They were fascinated by the complexity of human relationships, the unpredictable nature of love, the emotional depth, the seemingly illogical choices humans made in partnerships. "Our genetic compatibility is 87.3%, she continued, her eyes, large and slightly reflective, focused intently on David. "Professional alignment suggests we would create an optimal partnership for both our species' diplomatic relations." David couldn't help but chuckle. It was simultaneously the most bizarre and most systematic marriage proposal he had ever encountered. "That's not how human relationships work," he explained, setting down the crystal. "We don't choose partners through mathematical calculations." Hana's skin shifted to a pale green, a color indicating confusion and curiosity. "Then how do humans select their life partners?" David struggled to explain the intricate, often messy world of human romantic connections. How could he describe the butterflies of first love, the electricity of unexpected attraction, the deep emotional resonance that couldn't be quantified? "We fall in love," he said simply. "Fall?" Hana repeated, her translator momentarily confused. "Humans do not physically fall when selecting a partner." Her literal interpretation made David laugh, a genuine, warm sound that echoed through the communication deck. Several nearby aliens turned, surprised by the unexpected burst of human emotion. Hana studied him, her computational brain trying to process this interaction. Humans were beautifully chaotic, nothing like the structured society she came from. Every gesture, every reaction seemed unpredictable. "I do not understand," she admitted. Her honesty was refreshing. David's laughter subsided. He realized he was witnessing a genuine attempt to understand human complexity. This wasn't just a marriage proposal. It was a cross-cultural exploration. "Love isn't a calculation," he said softly. "It's feeling. It's connection. It's choosing someone not because of metrics, but because something inside you says they're special." Hana's skin began to shimmer, a mix of blue, green, and a color humans had no name for. It suggested she was processing something profound, something beyond her current understanding. The communication deck continued its steady hum. Holographic screens flickered. Alien and human personnel moved about their tasks. But in this moment, something extraordinary was happening. A potential bridge between two vastly different ways of understanding connection, partnership, and love. David looked at Hana, seeing not just an alien diplomat, but a being genuinely trying to comprehend the beautiful complexity of human emotion. "Would you like to learn?" he asked. Hana's skin turned a bright, vibrant color, pure curiosity and excitement incarnate. Their journey was just beginning. The Library of Human Cultural Archives was unlike anything Hana had ever experienced. Digital. Screens, physical books, and holographic displays surrounded her, each offering a different glimpse into human emotional landscapes. Romance novels became her first obsession. She read hundreds, analyzing every word, every emotional nuance. Stories of unexpected love, heartbreak, passion, concepts completely foreign to her computational mind. Her alien brain tried to create algorithms from these narratives, seeking patterns where none truly existed. David watched her research with growing amusement. She would sit for hours, her skin changing colors rapidly, blue when confused, green when processing, a soft purple when something touched her unexpectedly deep. "This makes no logical sense," she mumbled, reading a particularly dramatic romance novel. The protagonist had left her stable partner for someone who made her feel alive. Her diplomatic advisor, June Lee, grew concerned. During their weekly communication, he warned her about becoming too emotionally invested. "Our mission is observation, not emotional entanglement," he reminded her. But Hana was changing. Each human story revealed layers of complexity her species had never understood. Love wasn't a choice. It was an experience. It wasn't calculated. It was felt. She watched romantic comedy films, documentaries about human relationships, studied psychological research on emotional bonding. Her research became more than a mission. It became a personal journey of understanding. One day, she discovered a concept that completely shattered her previous understanding: vulnerability. In her culture, showing weakness was a failure, but humans saw vulnerability as strength, a way of connecting, of showing true self. She learned about heartbreak, about choosing emotional risk over safe calculations. She understood that humans deliberately chose paths that might cause pain, simply for the possibility of genuine connection. Her computational brain struggled. These weren't logical decisions. These were emotional investments with uncertain outcomes. David noticed her transformation. Where once she approached human interaction like a scientific experiment, now she watched with genuine curiosity. Her questions became less about data and more about understanding human experience. "Why do humans willingly enter relationships knowing they might get hurt?" she asked one evening. David smiled. "Because the possibility of love is worth the risk of pain." Her skin turned a complex color, a mixture of confusion, wonder, and something resembling respect. June Lee's communication became more frequent, more worried. "You're deviating from protocol," he warned. Emotional immersion was not part of the diplomatic mission. But Hana had discovered something profound. Humans weren't just another species to be studied. They were complex, beautiful beings with an emotional intelligence that defied mathematical prediction. Her research continued. Each book, each film, each conversation with David peeled back another layer of human emotional complexity. She was no longer just an observer. She was a student of human experience. The library became her sanctuary. Rows of books, digital archives, human stories of love, loss, hope, and connection surrounded her. She was mapping a new understanding, not through cold calculations but through empathy. Her skin, once predictable in its color responses, now became a canvas of emotional exploration. It reflected her internal journey, the slow, beautiful process of understanding a species fundamentally different from her own. David watched her transformation with quiet fascination. What had started as a strange, calculated marriage proposal had become something much more significant, a bridge between two different ways of experiencing existence. Hana was learning that some things couldn't be measured, predicted, or controlled. Some experiences could only be felt. And in that learning, she was becoming something more than just an alien diplomat. She was becoming a student of humanity. Her journey of understanding had only just begun. David realized Hana needed more than just books and films to understand human emotions. She needed real conversation, real experiences. They started meeting regularly in a small cafe near the diplomatic center. The place was simple: wooden tables, large windows, the smell of fresh coffee always in the air. Humans moved around them, talking, laughing, living their complex emotional lives. "Explain love to me," Hannah said one morning, her skin a soft, curious green. David stirred his coffee, thinking carefully. "Love isn't something you can explain. It's something you feel." Hannah's computational brain struggled with this concept. Feelings weren't measurable. They couldn't be put into neat mathematical equations. David shared stories. He talked about his parents' marriage, how they stayed together not because of perfect compatibility, but because they chose each other every single day. He explained how love meant supporting someone through difficult times, celebrating their victories, accepting their flaws. "Humans choose vulnerability," he said. "We know we might get hurt, but we still open our hearts." Hannah listened intently. Each word was like discovering a new language, an emotional vocabulary completely different from her species' logical communication. They discussed different types of love: romantic love, family love, friendship love. Each had its own unique texture and meaning. Hannah was fascinated by how humans could love multiple people in different ways, how love wasn't a limited resource but something that could expand and grow. David introduced her to human music, emotional songs that spoke about heartbreak, hope, connection. Hannah discovered that humans used art to express feelings that words couldn't capture. "Sometimes," David explained, "music can say what our hearts feel better than our words." Her skin would change colors while listening, reflecting emotional responses she was just beginning to understand: blues of sadness, warm oranges of joy, deep purples of complex emotions. They watched films together, not just romantic movies, but stories about human connections. David would pause and explain the emotional undertones, the subtle interactions. That meant more than dialogue. Hannah learned that human emotions were not weaknesses. They were strengths. The ability to feel deeply, to connect, to empathize. These were powerful human qualities. She discovered that humans made choices based on emotional intelligence, not just logical calculations. A career might be chosen not just for money, but for passion. A partner might be selected not just for compatibility, but for emotional resonance. "We are messy," David laughed. "Beautifully, wonderfully messy." Hannah's diplomatic training had prepared her for rational interactions, but David was teaching her about the beautiful chaos of human emotional experience. They discussed heartbreak, rejection, the courage it took to love knowing pain was possible. Hannah was amazed that humans voluntarily entered emotional situations with uncertain outcomes. "Why risk pain?" she asked. "Because the possibility of genuine connection is worth the risk," David responded. Her skin would shimmer during these conversations, a living, changing canvas of emotional discovery. She was learning that emotions weren't mathematical problems to solve, but experiences to be lived. David became more than a research subject. He became a patient teacher, helping Hannah navigate the complex landscape of human feelings. They would sit for hours in the cafe, watching humans interact. Each conversation, each shared moment was a lesson in emotional complexity. Hannah was transforming. No longer just an alien diplomat, she was becoming something more, a student of human emotion, learning that the most important things in life couldn't be measured, only felt. Her journey of understanding continued, one conversation at a time. Cafe remained their classroom, coffee their companion, human emotions their fascinating subject of study. And slowly, beautifully, Hannah was learning the language of the heart. Hannah's transformation became impossible to ignore. Her alien superiors watched with growing concern as she drifted further from their rigid diplomatic protocols. During a routine communication with her home planet, June Lee's holographic image flickered with disapproval. "You are compromising the mission's objectivity," he warned, his voice cold and calculated. Her skin turned a defensive shade of blue-green, reflecting her internal conflict. She had become something her species had never encountered, an emotional bridge between two different worlds. The Diplomatic Research Center became her battlefield, where once she submitted precise, emotionless reports, Now her documentation contained depth, empathy, and understanding. She wrote about human experiences not as a scientist, but as someone who was genuinely touched by their complexity. David noticed the changes most profoundly. Her questions became more nuanced. Instead of asking about human behavior, she began asking about human experience. "What makes a life meaningful?" she asked one evening, watching the city lights from a high-rise window. Her alien colleagues began, requesting her removal from the diplomatic mission. "She's becoming too human," they argued during their encrypted communications, but Hana was beyond their control now. She had discovered something more powerful than institutional protocols: the ability to truly understand another species. Her research shifted. No longer was she collecting data about humans. She was learning to feel like them. Small moments became significant. The way humans celebrated birthdays, how they comforted each other during difficult times, the random acts of kindness that couldn't be explained through logical reasoning. She learned about human resilience, how they could experience tremendous pain and still choose hope. How love wasn't about perfection, but about acceptance. Her skin became a living emotional map. Colors shifted rapidly, showing her internal journey. Soft purples of contemplation, bright greens of excitement, deep blues of understanding. The diplomatic center became uncomfortable with her transformation. Meetings became tense. Her reports challenged everything they understood about cross-species interactions. "Emotions are not a weakness," she argued during one heated discussion. "They are a form of intelligence humans have perfected." Her alien peers looked at her like she had become something alien, not just to them, but to herself. David watched her evolution with quiet admiration. The calculated alien who had once proposed marriage through a mathematical proposal was becoming something extraordinary, a true cultural translator. June Lee made a final attempt to bring her back to their original mission. "You are losing yourself," he warned during their last communication. Hana's response was simple: "No, I am finding myself." Her transformation wasn't just personal, it was becoming a groundbreaking moment in interstellar diplomatic history. She began documenting human emotional experiences not as an outsider, but as someone who was genuinely beginning to understand. Her reports became poetry, scientific yet deeply empathetic. The research center didn't know how to categorize her work. It wasn't just research anymore. It was a love letter to human complexity. Her alien species had always believed in logical connections. But Hana was proving that the most profound connections happened beyond logic, in the realm of genuine understanding. She was becoming a bridge, not just between two species, but between two entirely different ways of experiencing existence. David watched her, realizing they were witnessing something remarkable. An alien was learning the most human of all qualities, the ability to truly see and understand another being. Her journey of transformation continued, each day bringing her closer to understanding that the most important language wasn't spoken or calculated but felt. And in that feeling she was becoming something entirely new, neither fully alien nor completely human, but something beautiful in between. Part 5. Unexpected resolution. Maria stared at the note in her hand. She read it again. The meeting place was an old bridge at the edge of town. Tonight at midnight. For 3 months, strange things had happened in her small town. First, the power went out every Tuesday at exactly 9:15 p.m. Then, people's pets started to disappear, only to return days later with small tags on their collars that no one could read. Last week, the lake water turned bright green for 1 hour. Maria found the first note 2 weeks ago under her doormat. It said someone knew what was happening. The second note came yesterday, hidden in her grocery bag. It promised answers. She told no one about the notes. Not even her best friend Lee or her brother Tom. This felt like something she had to do alone. At 11:45 p.m., Maria put on her dark jacket and left her house quietly. The night was cold and clear. Stars filled the sky. She walked quickly through empty streets. The old bridge came into view. It was made of stone and crossed a small river. No one used it much anymore since they built the new road. Maria stopped when she saw a figure standing in the middle of the bridge. The person wore a long coat and had their back to her. "Hello?" she called, her voice shaking a little. The figure turned around. Maria gasped. It was Mr. Wilson, the old science teacher who retired last year. "Maria," he said with a smile, "I'm glad you came." "You? You're behind everything?" Mr. Wilson laughed softly. "Not exactly. I discovered them." "Them?" Maria asked. Mr. Wilson pointed up at the sky. "They're studying us, have been for months." Maria looked up but saw only stars. "I don't understand." "They contacted me first," he explained, "through my old radio equipment. They're curious about us but shy. They don't want to scare people." "Aliens? You're saying aliens are causing all the strange things?" Mr. Wilson nodded. "They're learning about our technology, our animals, our water. They mean no harm." "Why tell me?" Maria asked. "Because they chose you too. They saw how you notice things others miss, how you question everything." Just then, a soft blue light appeared above them. It grew brighter, hovering over the bridge. "Don't be afraid," Mr. Wilson said. The light pulsed 3 times. Something small floated down from it. It landed in Maria's open hands, a small crystal that glowed from within. "They want your help," Mr. Wilson explained. "They need someone younger, to understand our world as it is now." "What do I do with this?" Maria asked, looking at the crystal. "It will show you things, teach you their language, and sometimes they'll ask you questions through it." The blue light above them blinked once more and then shot upward, disappearing into the night sky. "Will anyone believe me?" Maria asked. Mr. Wilson smiled. "They don't need everyone to believe. Just a few people who can help them understand us better." Maria closed her fingers around the crystal. It felt warm. "The town will still notice strange things happening." "Yes," Mr. Wilson agreed. "But now, you can help explain them in ways that won't cause panic." They walked off the bridge together. Mr. Wilson told Maria he would teach her what he knew. The visitors would return in 1 week with more questions. As they reached the end of the bridge, Maria saw something moving in the bushes. A cat emerged, Mrs. Peterson's missing tabby. It wore a small tag that glowed faintly. Maria bent down and looked at the tag. Surprisingly, she could now read the strange symbols on it. "Hello, friend," the tag said. Maria smiled. The mystery was just beginning. She had many questions, but for the first time in months, she felt excited instead of scared. Something amazing was happening in her small town, and she was part of it. The crystal pulsed gently in her pocket as she walked home under the stars, which now seemed to watch her with new meaning.